An introduction to the fabulous Keokuk Geodes, answering some of the questions about Keokuk Geodes. The kind of the definitive book on the Keokuk Geodes was written by Sanat, and this is shown as it's called Fabulous Keokuk Geodes, Volume 1. There was no Volume 2 published, so this is what's available out there. We just had, this is not an easy or cheap book to find. We just had one at our auction this last weekend up in Cedar Rapids for our big rock auction we have every year. And this a copy of one of these went for $180. So you can see that they're kind of, no, not the Geode book. No, the Geode book was $180. But anyhow, they are a very popular book. This book gets into a lot of very in-depth analysis of how the Keokuk Geodes are formed and everything. So it's not easy reading, but it's very very helpful. What is a geode? It's from the Greek, earth-like, a hollow, usually spherical rock with crystals lining the inside wall. The word geode is applied to a wide variety of naturally occurring rocks that are formed by the deposition of secondary minerals in the voids and cavities. The term has been applied to crystals or agates that form in gas pockets and lava flows, to crystallized fractures and concretions, and to rocks formed by many other processes. The classic geodes are those found in sedimentary rocks in the Keokuk area. Keokuk geodes are subspherical masses composed of shell of calcite, form of quartz filled with a variety of crystallized minerals. In 1967, the geode became the official state rock of Iowa. And as you can see, there were some other considerations too. Others considered for official status were limestone and fossil coral. Personally, I like the geode better than coal. What is the difference between a bug and a geode? And I apologize, I had a bug laid out to bring and show you, but basically a bug is a cavity in the rock that has crystals growing in it. But if you try to extract that bug or that group of crystals, it will fall apart if you use any heavy equipment on it. Whereas a geode has basically a shell that allows you to take it out of the matrix. One thing that may be a little confusing sometimes is, how many of you have seen these geodes, or supposedly geodes, that come out of India with some beautiful crystals inside of it? Those things primarily, I believe, and I'll defer to my experts on that, appear to be more just a cutting of the pocket out, and it looks like a geode, but it's really a bug that has the crystals inside of it. And if anybody has any questions as we go along, please feel free to ask as we're on each slide. Yes.
I've heard it said that just because it didn't come from Keokuk doesn't make it not a Keokuk geode.
What's that?
I've heard it said that Keokuk geodes don't just come from Keokuk.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, you can find geodes. The term Keokuk geode is kind of branded for this particular area, but you can find geodes in other parts of Iowa. North central Iowa has geodes. There's a place up by Waterloo that we get some beautiful geodes out of. They're calcite geodes. There is no quartz in those geodes. It's all calcite, the shell and everything. So they're a little bit different, but they're still not a lot of color to them, but they're really neat geodes and stuff. I'm pretty sure. Dave, am I correct? Dave Crawford, am I correct in saying there's no quartz in those things? What's that?
Yes.
Thank you. Bug. So you can see here some of these bugs in the limestone. Not reacting real. There. Okay, you can see in this picture there is some calcite, but if you were to try and extract that calcite out, it would just break the matrix, would break right through where the pocket is and stuff. So again, more bugs in shale.
I thought there were just geodes in one.
Yeah, they're kind of geodes, but they're not by the definition, basically. These are these calcite geodes that I was alluding to. They have some kind of an iridescent color to a lot of the crystals in them, but then you'll get some really beautiful single clear calcite crystals inside of them. Again, these are the geodes, and you can see that there is a better, where you can, whoops. You can see where the geode can easily be taken out of the matrix. Easy is not always the case, folks. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, but for the most part, you can break them out. So these are the 9 questions that I came up with that people ask about geodes. Where do you find geodes? How big or small are geodes? Is this rock a geode? Is it hollow? What is on the inside? How do I break it open? How do I clean it if necessary? What is it worth? And of course, the most important question is, will you sell it to me or give it to me? Which is where are geodes found? Geodes are literally found all around the world. Although many countries are better known for having geodes, some of which can contain unbelievable minerals and be of enormous sizes. Countries better known, obviously, the United States. Brazil, you see all the beautiful amethyst cathedrals. Uruguay, also the same. Morocco has some fantastic geodes that you can find out there. Mexico, of course, has quite a variety of geodes. Best known are what they call the Mexican coconuts, from the Troya geodes, but there's also quite a few others. And then Madagascar. This talk will focus on the Keokuk geode. Okay, well, geodes are found in most states in America, such as Indiana, Kentucky, Utah, and Tennessee. The geodes that we refer to as Keokuk geodes are found primarily in Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri area. If you draw a circle with a radius of about 30 to 40 miles and centered on the city of Keokuk, you will encompass many of the sites that are known to contain geodes. That doesn't mean you can't find them outside this area, it's just that they are most plentiful in this area. So that 30 to 40 is kind of, can be a little bit larger, a little bit smaller, but I would say that probably encompasses most of the well-known geode sites. Keokuk geodes. This is from the Iowa Geological Water Survey. I should mention, in putting together this program, Ray Anderson, who is the vice president of our club. Ray worked for the Geological Survey for over 40 years and puts together tremendous programs. And he put together one on geodes. So some of the slides you'll see here are from Ray's talk. that he said I could use in here, so I have used those where appropriate, and hopefully they help explain some things. So you can see some of the minerals that are included, but I'll get into that a little bit here. This is a location map showing some of the sites around Keokuk where the geodes have been found. This is the stratigraphy for this area. It's a little bit hard to, I can find it possible to read it from where you're sitting, but it kind of is the stratigraphy for this particular area, and this is the area that we're focusing on. It is the Warsaw formation that most of the geodes come from. A road cut, Johnson Road, Lee County. Keokuk limestone at the base, and the Warsaw Shale above that. And this shows the geode zone. Okay, this is again Johnson Road showing the Warsaw Shale, and you can see some of the geodes that are poking out here. Again, at the Keokuk water plant, showing some of the geodes. Quite a few of them there. This was a paper that was written, Quartz Geodes, early diagenetic, silicified, and hydride nodules related to dolomitization. I asked Ray if he had a copy of this. He didn't think he did, but I'd be interested to read what this particular paper says about these. Okay, this goes through kind of the formation of the geodes, and if Ray was here, he could give you a much better explanation of this, so I won't even attempt to try and go through it, but basically it starts with the anhydride nodule formation, and about all I can add. Doug, Carl, or Dave, do you have any comments on this? No. This is anhydride with a calcite then that forms on the outside. The battery's getting weak, or it was just range. And then you end up with minerals growing on the inside. Appears to be quartz with maybe a staining from hematite or pyrites, and then a big calcite crystal. Where can you find Keokuk geodes? Shown here is just a stream, and there are places around where you can find a lot of these in the streams, in the banks on the streams. Keep in mind, if it's in an area where they have high water, the light ones, which are ones you really want to go after, are probably downstream someplace. Bigger body of water, or somebody else has picked them up or something. But you'll never know on some of these. What feel like heavier ones can still be awesome inside, and always take a chance if you want to crack them. Okay, this is showing Jacob's Geode 9, digging some of the geodes. And there's, for those that are collected at Jacob's, they're on the one side of the creek, it's primarily digging in dirt and stuff. On the other side, if you go up the hill, you're primarily digging in shale. And there is definitely a difference in the two. Where they're digging up there probably is, well, it's hard to tell in that particular one on the right. Wow. Digging for geodes. Tools that you need depend on the matrix you're digging in. The dirt, a shovel, small pick, hoe, or knee pads are pretty much what you would need. When you get into the shale, then chisels, hand, sledge, pry bars, knee pads, goggles, gel, just rock pick, and obviously not showing some of these sledgehammers and big pry bars. One of the guys in our club has a 30-pound sledgehammer that he swings. I'm not sure he's going to be doing that. I don't know if he's been doing that lately, but there for a while he was using that. So. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically what this says is if you find a rock that's round-shaped or semi-spherical in the Keokuk, Warsaw area, there's a good chance that it's a geode. There are places where you can find round rocks that are not. Even in Jacobs, we have found round ones that are part of what the glacier has brought down. But when you get outside of the Keokuk geode area, some of those, when you start finding round rocks, probably are not geodes. I've had people bring me nice, rounded, glacial erratics that are convinced that it's a geode. I said, no. So, but in this area, we find a round one. I mentioned at the bottom there, Scheffler's quarry, west of 61, was well known for having these nests of geodes where you start finding one and they're literally so packed in there that they lose their spherical shape and they become masses of just geodes. Very hollow, but actually in nests. About 21 years ago, I had open heart surgery in August, and 1 month later I was in a quarry picking up rocks. 2 months after my open heart surgery I was in Scheffler's digging geodes, and I found one of these nests on the bottom of the floor, and in 2 days I dug over 700 pounds of geodes. Now I couldn't carry them in the buckets, but I could dig them. But that can show you what happens. And it was just a little mound in the bottom of the quarry that no one had bothered, going into and stuff. And I started in on it, and it was full of geodes and big ones and stuff. So you never know where you're going to find it.
Is that quarry still open?
Not on the, not to the one to the west of the highway. No, there is a Scheffler's that's open on the east side. But this was in what we call the old Scheffler's quarry. And that was heavy rock mining. I mean, there was not dirt. You were into shale and heavy tools and stuff. But it just so happened where I dug was pretty easy. But that's because they were all jammed in there and stuff. How do you tell if a geode is hollow? Experience is one of the best ways. And actually, there are several other methods, but some people have the ability to pick up a rock and tell if it's hollow or not. And a lot of it just comes from years of experience. Comparing, if you know one that's hollow, picking up another one, you can use it kind of as a test to see if the one you think you're checking out is hollow or not. what most accurate method is to weigh the geode in air and then weigh it in water. And I'll get into some charts that show why that's the most accurate. And then, of course, the other method is just shake it. Sometimes you can hear water sloshing in there. Other times you can hear rattling. If you hear rattling, you know you definitely have a hollow geode. In the on Facebook, Jeremy Dyer has on his Facebook page has this chart, and I didn't show all of it, that calculates what the weight of a geode should be if you know the diameter or the radius, diameter, and circumference. And if you look on the left side, as a for instance, for a 2-inch diameter, the volume of the geode in cubic inches is 4.19. If it was solid, it would weigh, let's see, 6.4 ounces, and you can see it gets lighter as it becomes more hollow. So that's one of the early charts of comparing how heavy a geode is or how much of a void it has. Percent void equations, I won't get into them. Void percentage is equal to 1 minus, excuse me, 1 minus the weight of the air divided by the weight of solid. And the solid weight is calculated by these equations here. If you're using the circumference of the geode, it's the last equation there. And keep in mind that the specific gravity plays a part in this. What you don't see is the number 0.006152 is made up of some other numbers. The volume of the geode is 4/3 times pi r cubed. So this takes in, and you add in the weight of the water and stuff. These are some charts that I developed over the years. They're pretty accurate. Same chart. Again, just a close-up. If you know the average circumference of it, and you go up to, say, it's 16 inches, and you go up to, say, weight of 4 pounds, then you can hit one of these lines and it'll tell you about what percent void that geode is. This is my attempt at stick diagrams. Again, most accurate method I mentioned is determining how hollow is the way of the geode in air and water. And what you're looking for is the volume of the geode is the displacement, or how much water is displaced by the geode. So this, like I say, is by far the most accurate method. And again, once you find weight in the water versus the weight in air, you go into this chart and it'll just tell you the percent void. This is hard to read, but it's a computer program that I've developed in Excel that I can put in all the parameters and tell you exactly what kind of percent void that geode is. So, and you can do it by circumference or diameter. The one on the far right is the one where you're weighing in water and weighing in air. Oops. Yeah, things that can affect the void, obviously water, the geode, heavy minerals, clusters of crystals, and several geodes that form together. Minerals in the Keokuk Geodes. T.J. Ramsey from First Crack Geodes developed a chart And this is a chart that he put together of the kind of the relative rarity. You can see at the very end, solid geodes are very common. You go to the other end of the spectrum, we're up where it says black calcite 1.0. I think he developed this through a lot of geodes that he had cracked over the years and stuff. So. Okay, from Sanat's book, The Minerals, silicates, it goes through quartz, kaolinite, carbonates, calcite, aragonite, ferrandolomite, malachite, smithsonite. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that one. Carl or Doug, can I get one of you guys to maybe just run my computer back there? This thing is taking way too long. It's set up in the booth up there. Oh, or Kirk, are you up there? If you just hit the down arrow, just use the down arrow and just kind of go through these. Yeah, sulfides, pyrite, marcasite, sphalerite, chalcopyrite, millerite, sulfates, get into the barite, selenite, jarosite. Then you get into the hapite, hematite, pyrrhusite. And this particular minerals in the Keokuk Geodes is the stuff that the Geological Survey put together, where you can see there's reported but not published and suspected but not yet reported. So. There's quartz geodes, calcite geodes, chalcedony, dewdrop, snowball. You can see all the different types. And then multiple combinations of the ones above. Okay, we'll go through some pictures here. There's 6 minerals, and this one on the left. You get some aragonite, barite, chalcedony, and a black calcite. Beryl calcite on the one up in the upper left. You get brown calcite, and brown calcite on the bottom on the left with some clear calcite crystals. Then you get into the ferrandolomite on the right. Iridescent blue sheen. Maybe Kirk, go and just kind of go through them, and I think everybody can read them. Yeah. See on that cubic structure on that.
So if you find an area with one kind, will you find others, different kinds in the same place? Or will they all be the same?
No, they don't necessarily be the same, no. You can find different ones in one location. The one in the upper left is similar to what we find up by Jessup in those calcite geodes. Red quartz, root beer calcites. Okay, this is a large one that they have at the Museum of Natural Science in Iowa City. You can see they do get very large. And from 2019, again, a picture of people digging. Let me just comment on this, these two slides. Well, these two and the next two. One of the guys that I worked with, his family was interested in going down and digging geodes. So I took him down, it's been a few years ago, and we dug geodes here. And you can see this was at Jacobs. And at Jacobs, they primarily were digging these out of dirt stuff. And if you go to the next slide, you can see where they were extracting them and got quite a few buckets. We went back a year, I drove down this time when we got these. The next year, Brian had just gotten a brand new pickup and decided that he would drive. As we got about 20 miles from Jacobs, we realized it had rained the night before. And when we got to Jacobs, it was unbelievable how bad it was to drive in there. And Brian drove in there, and literally we were all covered in mud. And made for a difficult trip home. And it took him about a week, he said, to clean the underside of his pickup, brand new pickup. Digging in hard shale, I don't have any, I have pictures, but I couldn't find them. So I just said, hard to show, it can be painful sometimes. Here's the easy way to collect geodes, purchase a collection. This was a collection I happened to purchase a few years ago. Lots of geodes there. Not all hollow, believe me. Methods for cracking geodes, no tool is available to hit one geode against another. Quite often you'll see them advertised, put a geode in a sock and hit it with a hammer. Hammer and chisel, diamond saw, or the best is what you see out, most of the vendors out there have geode, or pipe crackers, pipe cutters and crackers, built specifically, I say, to break the geodes. Obviously they're used by plumbers and stuff, but hammer and chisel on the left, the pipe cutter on the right works pretty good. It's just hard to hold, so you need a stand built for it to be able to use it. These are two small crackers that I have. The one on the left, I can crack geodes down to probably about the size of a marble, or a little smaller almost. The one on the right, about 2-inch diameter. And of course, then there's the regular pipe cracker. This was a geode that I had done many years ago at Shepler's, and a friend of mine, John Lustre, I don't think John's here yet, probably running late, came up and helped me crack geodes one day, and he cracked, this was one of the very first ones he cracked, and I actually have this one with me. This is a very lucky crack, because it cracked right around that big calcite. This was another one that was very lucky. There's calcites in one half. There's 3 different chambers here, and all of them have calcites in. On the one side and not on the other. So, again, I have that one here too. Geode with sphalerite, pink calcites, and pink calcites. Cubic calcite with iridescent coating. This is a rather large one. Dewdrops. This is a lot of people look for the dewdrop geodes, and I've got some pieces. There are a couple of those up here too. Pink calcite crystals. Quite often these are sometimes almost fill some of the geodes. They can be very, very pretty. Geode with ferrite, dolomite, and selenite. On the right, you'll see those needles. Those are selenites, and I actually have that geode here too. And that's the one, like I say, I don't want you to put fingers in there because they will break off, but they're very delicate. Those, the old Shepler's quarry is where I found a lot of my selenite geodes. They seem to be most common in there. Again, this is another geode. I have coating on some of the quartz crystals. I showed this picture because the calcitic coating can be different colors. Sometimes it can be almost a white, sometimes it can be almost a brown. Sometimes you get this bridging pattern where you can see these pieces actually, when you put the geode back together, they actually connect to each other and bridge across the geode. On the left, you see some small geodes that were cracked. On the right, you see a half of a 175-pound geode that I have. I didn't find another Mike and some other guys found it, and I ended up purchasing it from them. I calculated it would take 8,000 of the little geodes on the size of the ones on the left to make the weight of the big one there. So, and there's again the picture of the geode, each half. This actually had some beautiful selenites in this here, but in the process of breaking and stuff, they broke off, but they were still in there. So, how do I clean the inside? Just cheapest way is just plain water, some soaking. Some use iron out or pyrite stain geodes. You just have to be careful not to destroy some of the minerals. A fabric cleaning gun, I don't know if your people are familiar with that, that's like a little pressure washer, but it really can sting if you hit your finger with it and stuff. But it works great for cleaning some minerals. And then there's some acids. What contributes to the value of a geode? Size, types of different minerals, combination of minerals, aesthetic appearance, rarity, location where it is found, and completeness. This is a chart that Jeremy Dyer put together for calculating the value of the geode, where you start with kind of a base number and then you multiply it by the different factors inside the geode. Again, more info as part of Jeremy's. This is one that I put together many years ago. It's about 2 pages long. Hard to read. It's in a spreadsheet, and unfortunately I can't find where I've done this. So I have to redo it again, but I can't. Okay, now I'm going to go and actually bring up some pictures that you'll see, and it's about 20 of them, I think, and then we'll end with question and answer period, and I'll have my experts come up here. Just so you know, there's a lot of people that have dug geodes way longer than I have. I've dug about 40 years, but there's other people that have dug them a lot more, so I'll be right back.